This is CBS.
WIVB Television 4, Buffalo.
You may not understand the words those Iranians are chanting, but their anti-American message is clear. And welcome back to CBS News Nightwatch, everyone. I'm Harold Dow. We'll focus on the way some other countries look at the U.S. with Iran's man at the United Nations. Boxer Alexis Arguello wants to take on the leftists in Nicaragua. And David Wise shares his wisdom about the cloaks and daggers of the CIA. That's all ahead here on Nightwatch, but first, we'll take a look at the news headlines. The government Thursday released an optimistic new economic forecast. The president's chief economist, Martin Feldstein, says economic growth should continue, slow but steady, perhaps for the next 6 years. And Treasury Secretary Donald Regan says that will translate into more jobs for the unemployed.
Our assumptions are that the economies will continue its recovery in the out years, and inflation will remain low, indeed will be coming down. And that, in turn, will be accompanied by a reduction in unemployment.
Many analysts agree with the government's long-term predictions, but they say they're not realistic because they don't take huge federal deficits into account. Well, the Federal Trade Commission Thursday gave its tentative approval for General Motors and Toyota to build cars on a joint basis. FTC Chairman James Miller said the venture would give Americans greater choice at lower prices, but other U.S. automakers said it would create unfair competition. The State Department has not been able to confirm whether an American bishop has been killed in Nicaragua. Government sources in Managua said Thursday that the body of Bishop Salvador Schlafer has been found, but Indian rebels claim he's alive and traveling with a group that's escaping to Honduras. 60,000 cards and letters arrived at the State Department Thursday to be forwarded to Syria. They're all addressed to Robert Goodman, the downed Navy flyer who will spend the holidays as a Syrian prisoner. Goodman's parents were on hand as the mail was prepared for the journey overseas. Well, sixth grader Samantha Smith is on another international goodwill tour. The Portland, Maine schoolgirl is now in Tokyo to address a children's symposium. Last summer, Samantha toured the Soviet Union at the invitation of President Yuri Andropov. Well, Americans abroad sometimes make many discoveries about their own country and how it's perceived as they do about foreign lands. In our series on How Others See Us, Chris Glenn got a glimpse of the U.S. through Iranian eyes.
Dr. Ajai, of all the nations of the world, Iran is probably the most fiercely anti-American. Why is that?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Iran is not really anti-American. It is probably anti-American foreign policies in some respect. And it is anti-American foreign policies because we don't have a very good experience of the American foreign policy in Iran and toward Iran.
But when the most common expression in the nation is death to America, and the nation of America, of the United States, is referred to as the Great Satan, is that really not anti-American? It sounds very anti-American.
It does sound very anti-American, but we have always made a very clear distinction between the people of the United States and the administration of the United States.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the United States is interfering in the affairs of Iran too much?
It is interfering in the affairs of many countries, including Iran. I have to admit that after the revolution, the interference has been minimized significantly because it did not have the chance to interfere so actively as before. But the record of the documents in the House of Conspiracy, as we call it, the ex-American.
The old American embassy.
Yes. There we have indications of interference in our internal affairs even after the revolution.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it more or less a natural state of affairs for governments to conduct this kind of activity within their missions, even yours in other nations? Do you not carry on much the same sort of activity as the United States was carrying on in your country?
No, we think that we have to, we are guests of the American people here. Mm-hmm. And there are limits to everything, and of course to our mission here. I think we can buy newspapers and whatever information in the papers We can, for instance, collect those and make clippings for ourselves. We can collect all the kind of information which is open to everybody. But if we want to interfere in the administration of the country, if we want to establish confidential, certain, confidential, quote-unquote, relations with certain people, for instance, in the administration, in order to manipulate the policies of the host country, I think it is immoral and it is not justified. We do not do that, and we do not expect the ambassadors in our country to do that.
How does Iran view the relationship between the government of the United States and the people of the United States? Do you think that our government reflects the will and the aspirations of the people?
Not always. First of all, the political aspirations of the people are not always created in a very natural and I have to say natural way. I can't find another adjective to modify what I want to say. I think sometimes the media can manipulate or can influence the people. I remember that during the time of the Shah, there was an American gentleman who came to Tabriz University in order to give a talk, and I happened to be in the hall and listened to him. He was very simple-minded. He thought that the people of Iran were very happy with the Shah, and they would be very happy to hear him say that, America is the friend of the Shah and the Shah is the friend of the United States. He was telling to us this sort of thing. And when we had some further talks in the office, I was asking him of the role of the media in the formation of the opinion of the people. He himself said, look, our media is called the opinion-making machinery. So if the media is the opinion-making machinery, then the media can be made think that, for instance, Iran is responsible for all the explosions in Lebanon. That's the idea which is given to the public now. The public is being fed with this sort of information, and it can be fed with all sorts of information. That is where I think the political aspirations of the people also can be manipulated. I don't want to commit myself to the idea that the people of the United States are manipulated against the interests of the United States. But sometimes, in some areas, I think the administration or certain functions in the media, of course, can manipulate the political aspirations of every nation, including the United States.
Dr. Ajai, let's take a brief pause here for some messages. We'll be right back with our guest this morning, Dr. Saeed Rajai Khorasani, the ambassador of Iran to the United Nations. Please stay with us.
Have you ever wondered why some TV weathermen rely only on out-of-town weather services?
Acme Weather Service and Crop Dusting, what city you calling from? Buffalo? Snow. That warm. Well, rain then. Well, I don't know if it ain't gonna rain.
At News 4 Buffalo, both Lou McNally and Mike Syka are professional meteorologists. They live here, work here, and prepare their own forecasts here. Lou McNally and Mike Syka, forecasting weather here because we're 4 Buffalo.
You can feed a hungry child. Feed a hungry child with care, food for life.
Across the world, the hand of care is your hand, reaching out to bring life-giving food to a child in need, and to provide that child's family with the means to grow their own food. You can make a difference. With your helping hand, there can be one less hungry child in the world.
Send care, food for life.
Contribute to Care Food for Life, Box 570, New York 10156.
Hi, Mom, you want a bite?
Oh, no. Thanks, honey. That's not good for a new little baby.
What do you mean, not good for a new little baby?
Well, what I eat, our baby shares. So I have to eat foods with lots of vitamins like fruits, vegetables, milk. If we all eat the right things, our baby has every chance to be born healthy. Want a bite?
Yeah.
For more information on nutritional programs, contact.
Our guest this morning is Dr. Ajai II, the Iranian ambassador to the United Nations. Dr. Ajai, what are the most striking differences as an observer here in the United States do you see between the people of America and the people of Iran?
The differences are very many. If we want to present them in a sort of categorical way, in order to simplify the job, and in order not to go to the minute details. I should say the people of Iran usually think and behave more in terms of principles, not pragmatically, whereas the philosophy of pragmatism can be traced in the daily behavior and the attitudes of the people of the United States. Pragmatism, both in the philosophical sense and in the practical sense of the term. The people of the United States are usually less religious. People of Iran are much more religious. Religion is more widespread in Iran. We have very few people who care less for religious
Of course,
values.
this is the foundation of the revolution, after all. Yes.
That's true. Whereas in the United States, if there is any care for religious doctrines and for religious norms, that care is not widespread.
We like to consider ourselves a free people operating, or functioning rather, in the freest and most open society in the world. Would you agree with that?
I partially agree. I think you have a great deal of freedom, but there are things which are defined as aspects of freedom in this society. But in our society, they are not called freedom. I think we have to have some limit to the definition of freedom. We have to have some restrictions. We have to have discipline. We think that only animals can have complete freedom. And the more committed, the more intelligent, and the more mature individual is, the more restricted he is.
Okay.
In this sense, we cannot agree with all definitions of freedom which are acceptable in your society.
Can you give us a couple of examples of that?
I think the manners of dressing, for instance, the daily behavior of the people in the streets sometimes might not be acceptable to us. The way children are brought up might not be fully acceptable to us. The attitude of the children toward parents, sometimes the sexual literature, or I cannot call it totally, they might not be pornography, but there are things which are not considered pornography in your country and are pornography in our values. I think money is a very important value in this society. They sometimes evaluate individuals with reference to money. According to money. If somebody makes 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000, then he is more important than someone who produces less. Whereas money is a very cheap value in Iran. We don't say time is money.
Of course,
time is something.
Time is something else in Iran. Of course, the role of women in the two societies is vastly different. How do you feel about the way that women are accepted into all aspects of society here compared to your own nation?
I think the role of the women, as you said, vastly differs. Our women participate more in more fundamental political issues. Your women participate more vastly in less fundamental political issues. I think in some of the demonstrations, which are very simple, women participate, but probably women do not participate in the elections as much as all women participate in the election, and therefore do not have the same participation in the delimitation of the administrative functions and political functions of the society. Whereas all women who participate in the elections more and more, they therefore determine the nature of the administration and the policies of the country more and more. They write better books and better articles. Our women, your women, I have seen many, university professors and scholars who happen to be women in your country, but women write things which are not acceptable. They are far below the standard of, women's morality.
Time for another pause, Dr. Ajai. We'll be right back with our guest this morning, so please remain.
Introducing a really exciting breakthrough in telephone technology. It's Speakeasy, the amazing new home speakerphone that lets you enjoy hands-free telephone conversations just like a busy executive right in your own home. Look, with Speakeasy, there's no interruption to your busy schedule. No matter what you're doing when the telephone rings, just press the button that turns on the amplifier, and you'll be free to talk and work at the same time. No more juggling acts, no more crooked necks. You'll enjoy hands-free phone calls, and the volume is adjustable so you can do whatever you want anywhere in the room. You can iron, cook, diaper a baby, or sew on a button. And Speakeasy installs on any phone. Take it to the office and use it for important conference calls. There's even a special feature that lets you put your party on hold. You can hear them, but they can't hear you. At home, everyone loves family conference calls. No more taking turns to ask the same questions over and over. Shorter phone calls, smaller bills. Dad can call from his business trip and speak to the whole family at once. Junior can call from college and tell everyone the good news at the same time. And the whole family can call Grandma and sing happy birthday. So if you're tired of feeling like a puppet tied to a telephone cord, if your phone calls are giving you a giant pain in the neck, why not order Speakeasy, the home speakerphone that lets you listen in luxury?
Speakerphones in offices cost $100 or more, but for a limited time only, you can get the Speakeasy for the reduced price of $39.95 with a full money-back refund. Use your credit card for rush delivery. Here's how to order. COD and credit card orders call toll-free 1-800-321-4100. That's 1-800-321-4100. Or send check or money order for $39.95 plus $3.50 for shipping and handling to Speakeasy, P.O. Box 3500, Department B, West Caldwell, New Jersey. That's Speakeasy, P.O. Box 3500, Department B, West Caldwell, New Jersey.
Our guest today is Dr. Saeed Rajaei Khorasani, the Iranian ambassador to the United Nations. We were speaking before the pause there about the role of women in our two societies, and we didn't quite get to the employment picture, the way women are in the marketplace in the United States.
I think women in Iran are also employed, and we don't have unemployment problems specifically for women. If we have unemployment problems, we have for everybody. There is no restriction so far as women's working in the administration or outside the administration. We have, however, restrictions on the way we behave at work. I think the norms of decency are very highly regarded, and we think that our women, exactly like our men, must be very decent, and they have to conduct themselves according to the moral standards of Islam.
And it extends to the style of dress,
to the style of dress. The style of dress, contrary to what people think here, is not only imposed upon women, it is imposed upon both sexes. And it is not imposed upon women by men. You see, women welcome it because it's an Islamic prescription, in the same manner that men welcome it.
I see.
Because it's an Islamic prescription.
You, Mr. Ambassador, you have children who attend the schools of the United States.
Yes.
What do you think of the education system here and the way children are taught?
I think children in the educational system of the United States enjoy, I presume, a bit more freedom than our children, and they have more time more leisure time, let's say, because they study less. Our children at home study definitely more. I have the assumption that a secondary school diploma from Iran is 2 years ahead of a secondary school diploma of the United States.
And yet many thousands of Iranian students clamor to come to advanced schooling in this country.
That is very true. They come particularly because they could not pass the tough entrance examination of Tehran University.
Touche. I know that your movement around the United States is rather severely restricted. I think you have a 25-mile radius where you can travel.
That is correct.
But some of the aspects of our culture that have touched you, such as movies, Broadway shows, pop music, can you comment on that, how you see that for us?
Well, as a matter of fact, I do not have any free time, leisure time to spend on movies and the rest of it, but I think pop music is a part of the American culture. People know it more of as an American product, artistic product, than otherwise. However, you have to realize that Islam is very restrictive so far as music. There are very few and limited kinds of music which we are allowed to listen.
Yes.
The rest of it is forbidden. We don't say it is bad. It is only forbidden. There are plenty of things which we can experience and we can have pleasure with. Mm-hmm. They are still forbidden. We can appreciate that it is beautiful, it is nice, and it is very harmonious, but it is forbidden. And since it is forbidden, we don't listen to it.
In closing here, Mr. Ambassador, given the fact that there's such a deep and entrenched animosity between our two nations these days, do you think we're ever going to be friends again?
I think so far as the two nations, we are very friendly. We have nothing against the American people. And even during the hottest periods of the revolution, you had very many American subjects in Iran who lived with us very happily. You do not find any single American who was in Iran during the, let's say, hot days of the revolution who was unhappy. Only those subjects who were inside the embassy and who were captured because of the, political position or political evidence we had against them. Mm-hmm. Only those people were detained. Nobody else has ever been detained. And they are still American men or women as husbands or as wives in Iran, and they are very happy.
All right, Dr. Saeed Ajai II, the Iranian ambassador to the United Nations, our guest this morning, and thank you, sir, for sharing your views with us.
Most welcome.
Okay.
He's Charlie Johnson.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Tommy.
He knows everybody in this neighborhood. That's why he volunteered to be part of the Carrier Alert program. And that's why he's concerned when sometimes things just don't look right.